Whakalawhalahi to everybody, and thank you for joining us today. And my guest today is Ioane Aleke Fa'avae. Ioane is going to open our session, our discussion with a prayer. And so please listen, there is a Niuean prayer. Thank you.
Hama tōru matua nei e whakau e ke hea ho furufuru ola ni kua fuaki mai koe. O le atu ki a whakalataha mai hau anganga, fuaki mai e tau purotu mai tau lata matala ke lata ia, mai ha maua tau whakatūtalanga ke lata ia, mai whalawhalaanga mai whala tau puhala ke uta ke vagahau Niue, ke motu nei ko Aotearoa New Zealand. O le atu fuaki ke whakanuina mai ki longa hea mautoro tau mga whaua taki toko taha, ko ia te zamne nei hana tama fuataha ko Yesu Kristo ko he matoro whakamoi tukulangi. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Ioane, or Io. I prefer calling you Ioane because that's your full name. So what I'm going to do, listeners and auditors, I'm going to read Ioane's bio. He sent me a bio, but I thought it was quite restrictive, so I might add one or two of his achievements in there because he deserves it. So Ioane Aleke Fa'avae originates from the village of Takalo in Niue. He's currently a lecturer of Niue Language at Manukau Institute of Technology, MIT, and a learning advisor Pacific at Unitec. Ioane was the Niue community lead for the Pacific Collection Access Program, PCAP, and a former guest Pacific educator at Auckland Museum, and emerging academic, award-winning Pacific heritage artist, and in vagahau Niue Language, author, broadcaster, and journalist. He is currently a board member of Pacific Dance New Zealand. Now that's his small, his tiny little bio, but I'm going to add some stuff in this because he is worth listening to. So Ioane is a very skillful and master of Niue oratory and traditions, a choreographer, composer, educator, actor, author, and playwright. As a tufuga and an accomplished heritage artist, his expertise and skills in vagahau Niuean culture are often sourced for various projects, both at national and international level. He's a recipient of Creative New Zealand Arts Council 2014 Pacific Heritage Arts Award for his excellent contribution towards New Zealand art. In recognition of his work in vagahau Niue language and culture at international capacity, he received the University of Auckland Blues Art and Cultural Award, Culture and Language, highest accolade attained at university level in 2010 and 2011. And that's only a bit of it. So, Ioane, thank you. Thank you very much for being available for this talk. As you know, it's all about Niue Language, okay? It's all about Niue Language. We want to promote it, we want to help it. And one of the first things I would like you to do is, can you just tell me your kind of journey with the Niue Language, you know, where you learned it and the achievement. Obviously, we have seen many achievements, you know, where you learned it in your upbringing, maybe at school, maybe at church, I don't know. Can you just tell me about that Niue Language that you use and practice?
Whakalawhalahi atu to you, Anna, and thank you very much for the opportunity for this interview today, and also for the bio or the introduction. I had restricted myself to just only present to you a very less bio of myself, but great to see you have actually read the other part of what I also do in the Niue community or here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Now, I was born in Niue, came here to New Zealand at the age of 7. And also returned to Niue for at least 2 years before returning back to New Zealand. So you can say I've lived in New Zealand and being brought up in New Zealand most of my life, but I have been able to maintain my vagahau Niue. And how I did that is taking part in a lot of community events, and also having to speak vagahau Niue at home, and anywhere and everywhere I engage engaged myself with any projects or any type of work that I am part of. I use vagahau Niuean and some of the cultural aspects into the workplace or the type of work that I engage in. Also in church and so on and so forth.
Excellent. That's a good start. As you know, you sent me some of your photos, and as I said earlier, I would like to know a bit more about the items that you're wearing as well and you're holding. So if you could just bear with me, I just want to share with you those photos. The first one is this one. I can see that you're the group of you, Niueans. Can you just tell me what was the occasion for this and what you are holding and what you are wearing, along with the kind of mask? Can you please tell me more about this?
I was part of this project. I was asked to be the cultural advisor for the Takalo Niue project last year. So a colleague or a good friend of mine, Sam Pelisi, initiated this project. The project involved Niue men from any age. So the project is to use the medium of Takalo to bring Niue men together here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and also creating a safe space where they can share whatever professions they are in, or whatever experiences they've encountered as a tangata Niue living here in Aotearoa. So this project was filmed at Ihumato in Mangere here in Tamaki Makaurau 2020. So at the time that this was filmed, the group consisted of 40 Niue men, as you can see there. So in this photo, you can see that I have been asked to respond to the mana whenua of Ihumato. So what I'm wearing there is what you call low C. In other Polynesian languages, they would say roti, being plaited together. And also what I'm holding there is a katoa. It's a traditional weapon back in the days that were used in warfares. But in nowadays, in some of our dancing, we would use this katoa. It's a weapon. It's a cleaving weapon. Some would say it's the equivalent of a javelin, but we have another taonga that looks like a javelin, and it's thrown. It's considered a sport, but very different to a katoa over here. So it's made out of a native wood called toi. I'm not so sure. I think it'll be an equivalent of very close to a mahogany type of tree. So yes, that's the photo over here of the Takalo project, which was filmed and released on social media last year, and there was a huge exposure. Although we were doing the Takalo, but it was also part of maintaining vagahau Niue in the art form of dance.
Can you please tell me the mask or what you're wearing in black? Is there a significance for this Takalo or this this Takalo? Is there a significance or?
Yeah, so Takalo is a war dance, traditional war dance in Niue. Our ancestors would smear their whole body in charcoal. Okay. But here in New Zealand, we've substituted with paint there, black paint. So normally the whole body is smeared. You can say it's part of the costume and a form of camouflage. Okay. When you go to war. depending on the color too of the low-C that you're wearing. So it's part of, you can only see this charcoal being smeared onto your whole body or your face when you are performing at Takalo. And I just want to touch on the Takalo here. There are two types of Takalo. One is performed as a performance, like what you see here in New Zealand at the ASB Polyfest on the Niue stage. And then the other form is for ceremonial purposes. And you can only see this on Niue when they're welcoming dignitaries like the Governor General or any people of higher status that arrives on Niue. Yeah, and the men will be always in the forefront when they perform a Takalo, but women can support in the background with the chanting. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. This is quite interesting. And I guess the Niue, the men at the back, they're all somehow speak Niueans between themselves, or are they all, there's a mix of New Zealand born and maybe as well Niuean born in the group of yours?
I would suggest that majority or 95% of the young men who are part of the Takalo project are New Zealand born. Okay. So this is another avenue of engaging in the culture and also learning language, vagahau Niue.
That's very good. Excellent. That's it's good to know a bit of the culture and how you use language to bring in the your Niuean people. I'm going to stop sharing this one, and I just wanted to ask you. You know, you are, you know, in your bio, you write songs, and you're a choreographer as well, composer, actor, author. Where do you get your inspiration? That's what I wonder. Where do you get inspiration? I don't know what the word is in Niueans, but inspiration. Where do you get that? You know, to help you write, to help you compose, to help you, you know, talk with other people about your ideas. Where do you get that from?
I believe it's always been being embedded in myself. It runs in the blood. I have a lot of my family members or great-granduncles who are really good at composing songs during their time. They were renowned at the village level and also at the national level in Niue. So I guess it's always been there, but for me, growing up here in New Zealand, what inspires me to compose, as a tangata Niue, you're being influenced and you're being exposed to a lot of events here in New Zealand, and I believe that's why I get the urge to compose either Takalo or any type of singing or poetry in vagahau Niue, in order to not only maintain the vagahau Niue, but you're actually creating more resources which people can utilize, because there's only very limited, you know, the type of recordings of Niue singing and dancing. So it's adding more new work into the vagahau Niue and the culture.
And I suspect that you are, I mean, the people you are trying to bring back into the language, I guess, is the new generation. Do you target a specific new generation, especially those who are born here, or is it open to from children to adults?
Yeah, the biggest audience that I target is New Zealand born, New Zealand born Niue, and those who do not speak the vagahau Niue language or has less exposure to the culture as well. So I try to encourage and target these type of audiences because it's important, because looking at Niue's population, the last census in 2018, it states there are at least 30,000 tangata Niue who are living or born here in New Zealand. Majority of them, over 80%, are New Zealand born. So it makes sense that we target that particular audience, but also to contribute, like how I said before, to that pool of resources. And even, some of my compositions that have been also being used back in Niue. So we got to share and have that cultural bridge with our brothers and sisters who are living back in Niue and those who are living abroad. It's sharing resources.
Thank you very much, Ioane. Talking about your contribution, because we're going to have a look at the CD, or at least the front cover. I think it's the front cover, and I just want you to share with us what that front cover is all about. Let me just open it here. Yeah, so you were telling me that. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of the other one. So. This one here, can you just tell me a bit more about this? It looks like, you're just talking about the First World War, World War I. So can you just tell me more about this, please?
So this CD is a collection of songs, some national songs from Niue. Going back in history, in 1915, Maui Pomare, who was also MP of New Zealand's Parliament, went to Niue to recruit some men so they can help in the World War I. So he was successful in recruiting 150 young men, and they left Niue in October 1915. And they came here, and the training camp is in Niuean over North Shore here in Auckland. So these Niue men fought under the 3rd Māori Battalion. So that's Niue's contribution to the World War I to New Zealand. Yeah.
So I guess.
So
sorry, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So in regards to this CD, the reason why it was put together with some of the compositions in here is in remembrance of our young heroes of Niue. They went to World War I, but from our village of Mutalau Ululau Tā Matahefonua Trust. As you can see there, the title of the CD is E Mahaputoa Liumaya Matia.
I was going to ask you, sorry, I was going to ask you, that's why I was waiting, but I'm sure you're going to tell me what it means, please.
Yeah, so E Mahaputoa is in response, the wife or their sweetheart would say, yes, my warrior, yes, I will come back, my dear. I will return after the war. Amatia, at the back over there, there's a picture of the cenotaph from where I come from, the village of Mutalau. So this cenotaph has the names of our young men. There were at least 26 of them. The names are engraved in the cenotaph over here, and it's the first village to have erected a cenotaph in Niue right after the Second World War. Oh. So all these songs are related to wars, and some of them are based on World War II as well. But we dedicated this CD to the young men of our village and the whole of Niue. So this was done in remembrance of 100 years at the time when we did these recordings.
And I guess because Niue is quite a small island, I suppose a lot of your choir people or person must have been some of the descendants of the family.
Yeah, that's correct. The majority of the choir, they are direct descendants of some of those young men who returned after the war.
Okay, that's good. It must have been some emotional kind of journey for those descendants, going through the journey of their ancestors or of their parents or grandparents. Okay, so thank you very much again, Ioane. One of the things as well that I thought we should talk about, because you're here and you seem to have this knowledge, and I know that you're contributing to the language, Niue language. When I was reading your bio, it seems to me where the question I want to ask you is that where do you think, for those who are here, for Niueans who are here, where do you think the language is heading? Because we have many problems as well, even from our language, native language, because there's less people speaking it. Where do you think for you, it must be a personal question, but where do you think your language is heading?
Well, there's very less. There's at least 5,000 tangata Niue globally who speaks the language or who are fluent in vagahau Niue. So it's considered one of the endangered languages in the world. So as you can see there, we're heading towards a tough time for our people, and initiating and coming up with ideas in how we can maintain vagahau Niue. Especially when you're born here in New Zealand, you have mixed heritage. Some would have 3 or 4 or more, and whatever the dominant culture, it's heading that way, and there's very less of vagahau Niue being spoken. But I guess, or I believe, the only way how we can maintain it is to encourage and use new technology to record and make up new resources, which you can encourage newly born babies right up to adults. So we can at least help the vagahau Niue thrive here in New Zealand. We may not be able to speak fluently, but at least it gives you you teach the cultural understanding and also part of the language.
I guess.
But that's where we are heading. And I believe that the way to maintain it is to record the vagahau now. And it's already being done. I mean, at the moment, there are a few projects here and there, like the app of vagahau Niue. But I believe that, we need to record more audio and visual, because in the next 10, 20 years' time, the vagahau Niue that we know in nowadays, because it evolves like culture, it's going to change. And another thing is that our people needs to, or the Language Commission or the Vagahau Niue Trust, should look at ways how we can build new words, add new words into the vagahau, new technological words that it's not normally used in our language, but because we're exposed to very different environments, we need to create new words. And that way, our vagahau Niue grows as well with time.
Well, I guess I think we need to. We're all the Polynesian language, because of the dominant culture, either French, English, or Spanish, is just stifle about the use of our own language. And you are going through the same kind of journey, difficult journey that we are having as well in Tahiti or where I come from, Mangareva. So we all have the same fight to fight. It's a good fight, and you are producing a kind of repository, producing the resources and then becomes a repository that might be, held at our museum, for next generation to come and listen to it and to use it. And you're right, we need to go along with technology, moving along. So yeah.
Yeah, and another thing of that, you need to create resources which is practical and people are able to access and user friendly. But on the other hand, we need to also train the people who can teach or tutor or facilitate, whatever projects or initiatives around vagahau Niue language. It's no good creating resources over here, then we lack the people who's going to actually help execute what's being created over here. So you need to have people trained, fully resourced, and then they can use these resources in order to help our languages. I think that's the way forward. Instead of just creating these resources and it's just dormant over there at the museum or wherever it is, and it's not being utilized.
We need to train the people for the use of those. So, the time goes very quickly. I would have stayed here because I am interested in languages, that's for sure. I love languages, that's why I speak quite a lot of them. And, listening to you, talking to me about what you do, it's quite, to me, is refreshing to know, even though the situation might look bleak, we are doing our best, we're doing our work, to provide our community about this material, those resources. So that's excellent. I was going to ask you, if you had a last thought, and if you could maybe finish off with a prayer, and then I will wrap it up as well.
Thank you, Anna. For me, vagahau Niue is here to stay and thrive, and whatever situation that we may face as tangata Niue living abroad, and also those who are living back in Niue, we can only do our best, but having to maintain vagahau Niue always starts from home. But I think that has also changed nowadays. But it's important that we all do our part. It's not only us as tangata Niue, but other cultures can support from the Pacific. And that way our languages will be maintained and thrive in a very beautiful environment here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I would like to say, kia mnuina, moe tū tangaloa a tautoro osi whakaue. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Ioane,
I'm gonna stop our recording.